Welcome, everybody, to episode 45 of PT Shop Talk. On today's episode, we revisit running as we did not talk about it last time, and we finish up with our top 5 holiday treats slash drinks slash food. With me, as always, is Nick Eggnog Doling and Jeremy Gingerbread Van Klompenberg. If you're following on YouTube, you'll see Nick is practicing being as still as possible, and it's working. Almost invisible. Nick's having a little technical difficulty, so you'll have to give him a little bit of grace, as DON used to always tell us when we were in assisted living. So in and out, but Jeremy, you and I will take the show. How's it going, bud?
Good, man. How are you?
Yeah, good. We got probably the first real blizzard of the season, so that's always fun. You know how that goes as a clinic owner. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's super cool.
Everyone thinks it's Armageddon.
Mm-hmm.
We've never seen snow before.
Yeah, and it's always I think the managing part of that is hard because you get, I think I've closed the clinic once in 3 years due to weather.
Yep.
And that was literally because nobody could physically get to the clinic. It was so bad.
Yeah.
So usually you just say, hey, if you can make it in, you make it in. I'll manage the phones. We'll get people canceled if we need to. But typically all my staff always makes it in. But then you have your patients cancel. So it's like,
But you guys don't have many people who commute though, do you?
We actually do have quite a bit because we get those post-surgicals. That might come from an hour out. Our pain patients might come from a couple hours away. So,
but what about staff?
Yeah. What about staff-wise? Longest commute's probably 40 minutes.
Yeah. Nick can attest to when I don't think there was ever a snow day that we missed because Nick was always going to be there as an owner, and then I lived 4 blocks from the clinic. So, but then we had a fair amount of people who did commute, and so yeah, I mean, they were still, for as big of headaches as they could be, like they always stick out as they were pretty fun days. Yeah, the people that bundled up and came out are usually pretty serious about getting better. So you usually have a pretty decent day as far as treatment wise, just because those people obviously want to be there if they're coming out through a blizzard.
Yeah, I just think it's just the managing of staff, and because sometimes you want to be like, well, I assume these 8 people aren't going to show up. Like, we probably don't need 3 staff here. Who wants to stay home, and we'll just condense. But then you show up, and all of a sudden, all the patients, like we had a day that was absolutely miserable, and like every patient showed up, which was great. But you're like, man, I'm glad we had staff for it,
Yeah, so, for sure.
That weird like balancing act. Our front desk people did a good job a day of like condensing people in and filling up space with cancels and stuff. But
yep,
we're even with the cancel list able to get people on the cancel list in today. It's like, hey, I know the weather's not good, but we do have an opening.
Come on down.
Yeah, that was good. Got my ethics done today, so I'm ethical again. So that was nice.
Yeah, it's good for you.
Yeah, according to them, based on their quizzes, I'm about 55% ethical. A little on the positive side.
Yeah.
Who knew? He can smooch your patients. Yeah, right. I felt good about that.
Yeah. So I didn't miss anything else. Sorry. What was my nickname when we started out?
I went with Eggnog Doling.
Eggnog.
Well, I thought like Nick Nog Doling sounded cool.
Dog.
Yeah, like that was just
dog?
like a meathead nickname you would have had.
A Nick Nog.
Nog. That is a great nickname.
Yeah, like
somebody's got to have it.
If you would have been the bad guy in Revenge of the Nerds, I feel like that's what they would have called you.
Ogre. It's close to ogre.
Yeah, like, Ogre and Nog. Think of the punch you guys could have been drinking straight from the bowl.
Yeah. That'd be fun.
That's perfect.
Good times. Alpha, beta.
I like it.
Yeah. I'd be one of those other like nondescript frat guys though. I wasn't like a full alpha beta, wasn't a full like tri-lam. I don't know. Yeah, I have to go rewatch that and see which crew I'd land on.
It would have been like the Ravenclaw of Revenge of the Nerd Frats.
Yeah, basically, yeah. And they go through those.
Nobody
I mean, you're
cares.
right. Hey, how come nobody's called out Rowling for a little copyright infringement on the nerds? Because like when they played their games at the end, they kind of very similar, idea.
Yeah.
The good guys won.
She stole everything.
Basically.
Yeah.
How Avatar was like a ripoff of Dances with Wolves. She did the same thing with Revenge of the Nerds.
With the Revenge of the Nerds. Maybe you're onto something. Maybe we should hashtag that.
John Goodman was Voldemort.
Yeah. Well, when you think about it, I mean, Harry Potter has a lot of the like shape-changing Darth Vader rapish type scenes, right?
Oh yeah. So then, is it Richard Carradine would be Harry, probably, and then
Like it.
yeah. God, why can't I think of the other guy? Now, I keep wanting to say Matthew Modine, but the same.
No.
Oh, he went on to ER.
It always comes back to Vision
Goose
Quest.
and Top Gun. Come on, Anthony Edwards. Yeah,
Anthony Edwards. There, I kept wanting to say Anthony Michael Hall, and I was like, that's not right.
Yeah, Anthony Edwards. He'd be the Ron Weasley. I mean, we're going. There's no Hermione necessarily. No, I'm missing that.
I mean, Lamar, was that his name?
Or Luttrell.
Yeah.
There's
wrong to say that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm gonna.
No, I think there had to have been a Lamar Luttrell in the Harry Potter world. If there wasn't then, if it was being made now, there'd be like 5 Lamar Luttrells.
Not
Maybe
if,
dating each other.
Not if J.K. Rowling had anything to do with it.
Because it's for modern audiences.
Doesn't seem to be her point of view.
Oh,
She's gotten herself.
No, it's true.
Some hot water over that stuff.
She did get in some hot water.
Yep.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah, there's only room for 2 genders in the wizard world. So.
Yeah.
But famously though, I mean, Dumbledore was gay though, right? So I mean, like she had some.
Yeah, she did. I mean, that was in the books, right? Or was that liberties taken with the new movies?
That was Fantastic Beasts, wasn't it?
Yeah,
the prequels.
So I think she even said there was some undertones, and she came out and said, even though they don't explicitly say it in the books, it was implied.
So
which is kind of a cop out later to say that, like, oh yeah, we had like 8 gay characters. I mean, we didn't say it, but you guys know.
It's just trying to
well, you did
now
know.
And not get canceled now. Not to have
you knew, Casey.
You knew. I would not have guessed Dumbledore.
Is it even necessary? I mean, he's like an old guy. He's the old Gandalf ripoff. Like, let him be. It wasn't integral to the plot at all.
But isn't it interesting? Like, they never really mention a whole lot of that. Like, Gandalf must have pulled in a lot of whatever he was into in his youth, right? I mean,
Gandalf was an angel.
Elves.
He's a Meyer. He's of the species Meyer, Casey. So
I don't know those things. I read the book. He's
like an angel who takes an earthly form.
Does he have bits and pieces?
Presumably,
probably.
Yes.
Or is it more like a Dogma, where it's like a Kendall type situation?
No, doubt it.
Okay.
But it's not necessary. It's not necessary to the plot. Like,
but aren't you curious?
No.
Like some point
I really am
not. You're a little curious.
Yeah,
not
like,
at all. Are you guys?
Well,
I don't. When I go to a movie like that, I don't really care. I mean,
you don't think like what was his life like?
Bigger than cultural issues.
How did Gandalf
this is backstory?
Yeah, how did Gandalf get to be Gandalf? Right. That's a perfect spinoff, right?
Like when he used to go to those elf parties, right? I mean, he had to slay whatever he wanted to slay. People are like, "Oh, that's Gandalf over there." Like, he's pretty tall, brooding, mysterious. You should go talk to him.
Yeah.
Or do you think people are like, that's Gandalf. He doesn't have parts. Don't worry about it. Like, he's just smoking pipes.
They probably
did he always? He didn't always.
They just want to sit by the tree of wisdom, learn from him. That's all they want.
But was he always that way? There had to be a time when Gandalf was just like, "Hey, check out magic," like boom.
No, he was always this way. When he came to Earth, he was to assume like an elderly man form, and which was considered humbling, I guess, in Tolkien's opinion, versus being a young, spry hipster with a man bun, et cetera, et cetera. He is
man bun.
But this is true. Like he was.
What do you have against man buns?
Yeah.
Me, you, Mr. Yeah, Chromie. I'm sure you
Whoa.
hate them. You hate them.
I
know
would if
this.
I could. I'd have a man bun if I could.
You would not.
Yeah, I would.
No. I've
I'd
seen
look
your
like a
old Owen
samurai.
Will. I've seen your old Owen Wilson
Samurai's
photos.
cool. So you're telling me Gandalf just showed up one day? He was like, "I'm old."
Correct. Yep.
Like,
Yep. Dropped into
What
Middle
book-
Earth.
What
and
book
you
is
don't
that
think
in?
though he ever like
It's in
in his
Silmarillion.
Oof,
Like
nobody
that
cares
whole,
about that.
like all
The
the
salamander?
Casey, you
Hmm.
watch
Yeah, wow.
But you
I'm
don't
a
think he
to-
was
I
ever
like
on
ride or
Earth and
die
he was
with
like,
Tolkien.
"Man,
Oh, you don't care.
I gotta try this out." Like, finally got a body. Like, let's see what it's all about. Let's see what the fun times are.
That's not. He's a higher being. He doesn't succumb to our earthly pleasures. We're so weak.
He was
You're
such
so
a
weak.
he's so intelligent. Like, it was research. Wouldn't it be research? Like, I can see what this is all
He doesn't even need it. He knows.
about. Instantly knows what it's like to have the sweet tenders, huh?
A wizard is neither late nor early. He's always on time, precisely on time.
It's true.
Yeah,
So
think how
true.
good he would be in the sack.
Wait,
Same time finish
I
every
see.
time.
I
Isn't that
really
nice?
don't care. I don't need that much backstory. I don't need those.
That's all
subplots.
Jeremy and I want.
I don't need that much backstory,
Mm.
but part
If
of
you're
me
gonna
would
get
wonder.
backstory, you might as well get the backstory.
Yeah.
Boys, I don't know.
People are
Don't you
people.
think?
I like
Don't
to
you
know
think
the
these
normal lives of
beings,
people.
like just like the elves, they're like thousands and thousands of years old. Like they don't care at some point.
No, they care.
Yeah, like
think
I
it's
feel
okay?
like they just develop like super slow. They take their time. Elves know what it's like you don't see young elves because they're out spinning their yarns. What the like the Amish people, right? When don't they have a thing when they turn 18, they like go
They go
wild.
away. Yeah.
They while out, like Nick Cannon would say. Isn't that true?
Wild out.
I don't think they use that terminology.
Is that
I'm
where
pretty sure
Sawyer
it's in their
Wild? Is that
book.
where Sawyer Wild Oats came from?
Yes.
From the
expression of it?
Is that true?
From the Amish.
I'll
So do you
Produce it?
think like elves are like that, but instead of like 1 year, it's like 200 years? Where it's like, hey,
No,
let's go do your
no.
thing.
I don't even know if that math correlates, Casey. It's probably more like 800 years,
Oh,
1,000.
they're
I mean,
not. 1 year of elf time is 800 years of
I don't
people
know.
time.
Galadriel's an old chick. She's
Did you guys watch Rings
Thousands
of
of-
Power?
no.
Why not?
It's not real Tolkien.
Yeah.
It's just these
They get-
bunch of
they get mad
writers
at-
who
Are you
they're
saying
doing
it's
their
mad at
just
thing.
the
Tolkien?
they get mad at the elves.
Tolkien?
The
Tolkien.
dwarf gets mad at the elves
Tolkien?
because he's
Tolkien?
like, you didn't reach out, man. You didn't reach out. He's like, man, it hasn't been that long because I'm an
See?
elf.
Just a bunch of drama, bunch of manufactured drama. I don't need that stuff.
You don't
Like-
think that's Tolkien?
It's not real Tolkien. If you like, they hired writers to like they were given approval to use the characters and stuff like that, but it was completely original material. Which now they've said that because it bombed so big time, but they've invested so much into it. They're like season 2 now. They're gonna go back and have it be more canonical, is the expression.
Ooh,
So
good word.
actually use stuff that's considered canon. So we'll see.
Nick Cannon.
I'm gonna have to
wilding out.
read
We're just
the,
talking
Nick
about
Cannon,
this.
wild out, yeah.
And now
Yeah.
we're back at Wild and Out.
That's exactly what it means, I think. Pretty sure.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it comes full circle. That's the canon full circle, as they say.
Yeah. Mhm. Especially if you're running, right? This is too early for the segue. You're
No,
running
let's
in a
hit
full
it.
circle.
I like it. Full circle, like a nice
Like a
running
track.
stride. Oh, yeah, tracks might be even better.
Right on the track. Oh, little hobbies.
Now, do you think
Oh.
Gandalf has ever ran in his life?
Why? Why would he?
Well, that's what I mean. Like, aren't you curious about these things, Nick?
He
I feel
rode
like,
a horse. He
you're
rode
like,
a
"Ah,
Rode
it
a
don't
horse very
matter."
quick. Shadowfax
Yeah.
was very fast.
Yeah.
Fastest
Yeah,
horse.
but you don't think he ever like got off and like was like, I'll chase after these young kids just for funsies?
He might have. Gosh. I mean,
I
he
think
moved
he's like,
quickly at points.
Oh, I'm
Like-
like a angel guy. I don't have to do these earthly things like running.
I mean, like I think he ran at some point in like the Battle of Minas Tirith, and he had
Do
to
you
go
think-
save Faramir from being burned to death by his dad. I mean, you
Did he
guys
have a
all remember what
midfoot
I'm
strike?
talking about.
No.
Everybody knows.
Yeah. Yeah, he probably had a mid-foot strike, which is supposedly the ideal foot strike now. A lot of literature would support that, as they say now. Is that about as good of a segue as we're gonna
Yeah,
get?
I mean, let's move on. Like,
what kind of foot strike did he have?
like he's
That's
got
the
sandals
perfect
on,
segue.
right? Like he
It's
wore
hard to tell.
sandals, right?
His robe was so long, you couldn't really see.
I
it'd
think
be
he was
terrible.
wearing
Like, if he
J's.
came into the clinic,
He was wearing
in a
J's
robe.
underneath.
Yeah, I was gonna say like Jordans. He could take
Retro
it from any
threes or
time,
something.
right?
Yeah,
but in a real practical example, if he came into the clinic, you definitely have to have him go change into your best pair of champion shorts.
Champions, yeah, 100%.
Yeah, just like the old cheapies and be like,
Yeah.
you need these things thigh high.
Probably the orange color I would pick for him.
Mhm. Yeah, the old classic, or red, just old
Red.
crappy faded red,
dark red.
Yeah.
Where
Yeah,
like the
we gotta get you up
ties
on the
is just
treadmill, or-
one extra long loop. They like couldn't even take the time to cut that and put ends on it so you could
Yeah.
physically tie it.
Now hobbits, on the other hand, they're barefoot by choice.
Mhm,
So
barefoot runners.
Hashtag born to run.
Hashtag born to run.
And they generally wear like capris, so you can get a good view of,
You think that's
of
how they
everything you
refer
need.
to their pants? Give me a nice pair of capris. Hard to believe.
Clam
Hard to believe.
diggers. Is that another?
Yeah,
clam
that's
diggers is like another term.
I feel like that's more appropriate, right?
Yeah,
They just called them their party pants, I assume.
yeah.
They were party people.
So they'd be easy. They're kind of like a real heel striker, though. I've noticed watching those movies.
Oh, for sure. That is a heel strike big time when they run.
There.
Yeah, that is a wide too. It's hard to tell if there's any sort of
They're so
ankle motion
furry.
at all.
Yeah, we could
Got
be the
good
best.
Cushion.
We would be the absolute best therapists in all of the Shire.
Oh,
We're,
easy.
Set up shop.
Easy.
Yeah,
Mhm. So we want to take this crash wreck right now.
yeah. Keep going. People
That's
wonder why
almost-
we
Anybody,
skipped
listening,
it last week.
anybody who's listened to these last 2 weeks are like, these dudes really don't care about running it.
Okay,
You
which
know,
leads
so-
me to my point. Like, and that's what I wanted to ask you guys is like, how much like do you guys actually see like gait analysis in the clinic, running analysis in the clinic, and like how much do you put the value into somebody's gait as far as leading to injuries? Because obviously you're going to get sports injury people, running injury people. How much of that do you factor in their actual gait pattern? I guess that's my first question. I'll start with Nick. You seem fired up.
Oh.
Get it?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I think it's evolved over the years. Now I really like to do running gait with almost any athlete that I work with, even if they're symptomatic on the day they come in. But I think it's particularly important, though. Anyways, like if it's an acute injury and they didn't necessarily have any of these symptoms like running before, it's not quite as important. But if it's something that's become much more chronic, like this cross country athlete that I worked with a couple months ago, our goal was to try to just kind of manage her into state, and then get her on a program so that in the future her pain doesn't come back, right? And when you look at those things, I'm not afraid to get that person like on the treadmill right away or on the turf and just say, show me what this looks like, right? If that's what's causing your symptoms, I'm not afraid of doing any further damage. So that's a shift in my own approach compared to where I was when I was more of a new grad earlier in my career, where you're taught like remember this, you avoid your position changes during your examination, avoid any exacerbating factors, because you really, you don't want to stir them up. But I've completely 180 on that stuff, and I'd much rather watch them in their natural environment, try to determine if there's anything I'm seeing that correlates to those symptoms,
Mm-hmm.
But if sometimes there's not, sometimes their gait looks pretty good, and you're just like, all right, well, let's maybe we just got to go back here and treat it a little bit more early stage acute symptomatically, and then strengthen you and send you on your way. And then try not to get them afraid of running the rest of their lives.
Yeah, I think that's always the hard part is doing a full running assessment and trying to break down all the pieces and to say, you have this problem here, this problem here, this problem here. Let's correct. You'll feel better. But then keep them believing that running's still a good thing to do. I think can be tricky sometimes. Where then is it always going to be anytime they get aches and pains from running, does that change their mindset to like, I'm running incorrectly again, or what am I doing wrong running? And that's another question too, is, how much do you think their running gait pattern causes the injury? Specifically running, probably more than athletes. Somebody comes in, and I'm not talking about hey, I just decided to do a 5K for the first time and now I'm hurting, but like the cross country runner, or hey, I run like 10 miles a week and I've been training. Yep. And now all of a sudden I got lateral knee pain, or, the front of my hip hurts. How much do you think that gait pattern, I'm not going to say contributes, but is like a big driver of that injury?
Well, that's it. That's an awesome question. And one thing that's good to get into with them is because from a practical standpoint, again, you cannot, if you got a marathon runner like Jeremy, we have guys like that in the past. It's really unrealistic to ever try to correct everything and then present them in a way that's going to say, hey, now you're going to be right. Now you're going to change these things, get you in the right shoe, and everything's going to be perfect. Because there's thousands of, and this is real conversations I have with patients. So like, you're going to take, 10,000, 15,000 steps during this race, depending on what you're trying to do. There's going to be things that happen along the way. You're going to feel things like you're at mile 13 and now my Achilles kind of bothers, but if I shift over here just a little bit, it kind of feels better, right? And you continue on, you keep slogging it out, and 2 miles later, you're like, now my knee's kind of achy, right? Some of that's, you're only going to be able to manage so much realistic, and then as fatigue sets in, your mechanics, kind of get exposed too. So building endurance, like globally, you want to focus on like kind of trying to find maybe correct, like I think of it less in terms of correcting mechanics themselves, but finding the right speed and cadence, because, and oftentimes I find that the distance runners are probably running, especially if they're purely recreational, they've had no formal training, they weren't cross country, they weren't track and field in high school. But they just got into it later in life as a way to like keep weight off and stuff, got the running bug. Is
that real? A running bug?
Yeah.
I got bit by one
metaphorically.
It's terrible.
Not like the Shelob in Lord of the Rings, Return of the King. But what you're really thinking of like is again, get them on the treadmill and play around with speeds, and sometimes like, tell me where you feel most comfortable, right? My wife is a great example. She actually won a gait analysis from us quite a few years ago. And I think, Jeremy, you actually, I would refuse to do her screen. I just didn't think that was right. So, nor did I think she'd listen to me all the way through. So, Jared, we did like an FM.
Continues to this day.
Her, one of her friends won the other one. And so we kind of tag team that out. And one thing that's very evident though, is like she would start way too slow on the treadmill and her stride was, I'd just say, much too short. She was not really engaging any of her posterior chain as much as she should. And she developed quite a lateral whip at like, say, she's running at like 5.9 miles an hour, where once you get her up to like 6.3, 6.4, 6.5, still not record-breaking times, but it made enough of a difference where it really normalized that gait. No, Jeremy, anything to add off of that stuff?
Yeah, I think it's always hard, right? Like when you talk about that with, again, well, I'm going to dial back. Runners, if they're a true runner, I find like more often than not, they have no fear avoidance. Like they just want to run no matter what.
Yeah.
It's like, and they're going to find a way. And that at times, like the hardest thing is getting them to back off maybe just a little bit in the short term while you're trying to get them cooled off. But yeah, I would agree. Like where you'd say, kinematics aren't going to predict injury. But I would also say that there's like a certain point, like if you go, man, you're getting a ton of frontal plane deviation. You're bounding when you are walking, like there's a 6-inch, gap during your stride length, to say like, yeah, whether we just play with cadence. I like that one too, Nick. I know I probably stole that from you, but just like where you make a small change in tempo and see what corrects itself, and like basically just putting that person in a position to succeed versus having to say, no, you need to land here, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this. A lot of times just speed will like the body will find that most efficient way to move. But I do think, endurance, core strength, proximal hip stability, huge, especially if you're getting more into distance. And then I do think there are pieces too, like, if you got somebody that's crossing midline like crazy and just leaking torque everywhere, really like where you'd say like, hey, this isn't necessarily like to prevent injury, but this is like a performance thing. Like, you're going to be much more effective, going here if we tweak this. And like you said, you're not going to ever fix everything. But I think there are some pretty small things that we can do that can really have a big effect over the course of miles and miles to help performance. And then I guess you're right, you can't prevent all injuries, but like try to reduce that chance, right?
And on your point, I mean, you're right, the ultra disciplined runners, like they're going to do it, right? They're only worried about like, oh man, these ones I worked with like a couple of Achilles injuries. They're really worried about the thing just blowing up on them mid-race. That's like a fear that would come in. But I think to the other ones, let's say it's your weekend warrior, somebody who wasn't traditionally trained that way. Setting expectations for the race are big, and for distance running in general, and you can use good examples, now, I mean, even marathons themselves aren't a big deal anymore in that community. It's like ultras. Right? 200 milers. And to be able to say those people like put their bodies through such massive abuse, but they're able to overcome so much of it mentally, right? And pacing themselves is absolutely imperative. You can't just go out there and keep chugging along unless you're just gifted with some magical mental power, to overcome stuff. But because you're going to have all types of issues come up, whether it's stress fractures, blisters, like skin sloughing off your feet. Blisters, terrible stuff like that. That's just gonna happen. No matter how much you try to manage it, it's gonna happen. It's just when.
Yeah, and I think I've moved away from foot strike so much, and like more where is the foot strike landing, right? Is it under your base of support? Making sure that you're not too anterior, not having that braking force, not that you're too far behind to where you're falling over throughout that. So there are some like pretty basic things, just 8 to 10 degrees of trunk lean, things like that I'll try to cue a little bit. But then finding that comfortable spot for them, from a foot strike position or standpoint.
Do you guys think there are people that just shouldn't run?
No.
Yeah,
I would agree. I was curious.
I make the argument like we talk photo stuff, right? Like, and make the argument like people are like, I don't run. I haven't ran in years. And I'm like, well, if you're in a parking lot, I want you to be able to run out of the way. If you got a car like that doesn't see you, I want you to be able to run out of the way. Well, yeah, I think I could probably do that. How much of you should be able to. You should be able to.
What a good question. I mean, how much of a disservice has the healthcare community done to patients in general who've had, different surgeries over the years where like after a total knee, they're told you're never going to run again. Well, that's going to really freaking suck if your house is on fire. You're just going to slowly waddle out.
Yeah. I had my knee replaced. I guess I
don't want to wreck my knee, right? No. I mean, we just got to do better. I mean, we have to finally start cleaning up some of this stuff and not be afraid to venture off into that stuff once they get the appropriate clearance and they have some some healing going on there. Well, my mom ran a 10K about a year after her total knees. Her
Good
total
for
knee,
her.
you know. She started out walking, and then she just couldn't hold back anymore and got back into running it out. So she's fine. I mean, that's just so funny about it. It's like when you think about why wouldn't you, right? Why? I mean, they're like, well, then you might need a revision 10 years, or might only last you that. But shit, that happens all the time, anyways.
Oh,
We
yeah.
see it. We see it with morbidly obese people.
You want to take 13 years of living your quote unquote best life, or 15 years and still needing repair anyway, or revision.
I think we talked about it here. The research shows that like it doesn't affect, like it doesn't
lessons.
Yeah, right. It lessens. There is more wear and tear on the joints, but it actually lessens your need to get a revision. It's interesting, it does wear the components down, but they got a lot to give.
Oh, yeah. I wasn't talking total knees. I apologize. There's a great JOSPT perspectives. I just gotta get this out there. I quote this one all the time, that they took recreational runners, sedentary people, and what they would consider more competitive runners. The cutoff was 57 miles a week for recreational to competitive. And what they found was that the recreational runners had a 3.5% incidence of OA. Non-runners had 10.2%, and your competitive runners had 13.3. So most people are going to be in that recreational phase.
Yeah.
And I'd make the argument that extra 2% chance of having OA, all the health benefits of running 60 miles a week.
Massively.
My God.
Yeah.
So it's like, I get that all the time. And I'm like, actually, like this is actually what the research says. So
don't be afraid.
No.
Which brings up another interesting point, because I was reading another article, I should quote it, but I don't remember where it was from, where they did have like people that ran greater than 15 years did have a slightly higher risk of OA. But again, most people that ran for 15 years or greater were elite runners. Like they fell into that category. Those were the people that they kind of followed, which was, I forget how many miles it was, 50 or something a week, like that. So is there an upper limit to the human body of what is good, and like what your joints can handle, what the load can handle? I mean, because we always talk about load and like grading it, and
every human should be different. I don't think we can answer that, because everybody's blessed with like different abilities, right? Like we talked about with strength training, when we talked to some guys are, whether they're pharmaceutically enhanced or not, but they're able to like, squat over 1,000 pounds, which is unreal in my mind. There's some people who can habitually run, a marathon. There's people who've ran a marathon a day for, 100 days. I don't know if we're qualified to answer that, nor should we be. I mean, we just don't have all the answers to it. Question, I got a question back to you guys though. Have you ever rehabbed a total knee of an individual who's a lifelong runner? Because I have never
recently that I can think of. I mean, I've had some pretty fit total knees, but I don't know if like competitive running was ever like a part of the picture.
I've never.
I don't know if I've ever had a total knee where
5 miles
like,
a day. No.
Yeah, where they're like, I got to get back to running. I guess that, sadly, and that's messaging again. Like I do have people with total knees that like give up running because they were told not to run.
Yeah.
But
I'm saying like up until that point, like no, I can't think of
a
single
far
one.
Between, for sure.
I could be forgetting one.
How many sedentary couch potatoes have you seen for total knees?
Percentile wise, 99%, maybe 98. I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting for sure. Yeah, I was talking tissue tolerance as we were looking into this stuff. There's some interesting research on like osteogenesis, bone growth due to like tissue response, and how really our tissues become deaf to tone or deaf to load after a while. I don't know if you guys seen some of that research where
Deftones? Love the
Deftones. Yep.
We've established that. Yeah. They're deaf to tone, you're saying?
Def to load is what I meant. So you'll see like osteoblast activity increase for the first 10-15 minutes of say a run, but after that the body kind of shuts that down. So they talk about if you're trying to load up say for a race, and then that window resets after about 4 to 6 hours. So they're saying if you're going to try to load up tissue and really try to get its tolerance up, you're way better off doing like shorter bouts, 4 to 6 hours apart, multiple times a day. So that just some interesting research on that because
for that particular purpose, though, right? Because when you run a race, though, those guys are, I think they're almost entirely focused on muscular cardiovascular endurance, which you can't get by breaking it up.
But I guess what I've talked about is like, yeah, I guess just tissue, you talk about like Achilles tendon tolerance to running, something like that. Kind of, I haven't seen as much with tendon tolerance as bone tolerance, but I'd assume there's some similarities there. And that may be a bad assumption, but so it's just interesting because is a little bit of tissue load just as good as a lot of bit of tissue load? Is walking, can walking make you a better runner? I guess there's some conversation on that. Somebody gets themselves into a running injury, is it better to just deload the running and keep doing it? Do you cross train, throw them on a bike, throw them on elliptical? Are things like plyos great for running conditioning, or should you just run? So there's just a lot of interesting conversation on that.
Yeah, I think I think most literature supports you gotta find some method of cross training, not even swimming as an adjunct, to actually deload the tissue at some for some days of the week. So you're not, like, to your point on tendon overload, you can't reason, most reasonable people are not going to be able to develop that by week one going out and I'm going to do like 4 and then 10, even though I wasn't doing anything close to that, because then you do run the risk of injury and tendinopathy because you haven't built up the tolerance. Yeah.
Do you think that's most running injuries that you run into in the clinic are people that just try to load too fast or too great or both?
Yeah, a little bit of that. I think at some point as they're trying to pile stuff on, I've heard this from a different, and I don't know how well studied this is. There's not a lot of research on it, but let's just say every human body has a different threshold on steps, right? How many you're supposed to be, how many strides you're taking when you're running, how many miles you got in you before stuff starts wearing out, right? And you can adjust that by gradually going into it, but your baseline is still your baseline. So if you come out maybe too much too soon, like you said, or even if you're an advanced runner, but you never give yourself like a rest cycle, they say that's predisposes you to it, right? Where you never had any type of cycle where you were still running, but you dropped your mileage 50% for a couple of weeks. Now what's insane, obviously there's the Cameron Haynes, David Goggins, these guys out there. And
can't hurt him.
Yeah, they're never, they never have those tapers, and they're just doing it every single day, and they're injury free. So for the most part, now they'll still get, like, Goggins has incredible stories about running through stress fractures and stuff like that. I don't know. They're shifting that paradigm a little bit too, though.
Yeah, because I mean, how long does a person need to deload? How long do you need to cut back? What's the theory behind how long you wait?
Yeah. Whether you're running or whether you're powerlifting, powerlifters prescribe to that same thing. Bodybuilders have off seasons too.
Obviously, your athletes
Periodization.
too.
Yeah.
But yeah, what is the optimal? If you have a runner, what do you tell them? Like, hey, every 3 months you got to deload for a week. I guess that's always the interesting conversation to have, because like you guys said, runners, it's pretty hard to make them quit running. That's a lot of times why they our bad therapy patients sometimes, because it's like, hey, just, it hurts at 3 miles. Why don't you just run 2 miles for a while and enjoy it? And they just don't, or they stop or change something for a week or two and it feels better and they go right back to 10 miles. I was feeling good, so I went 10 miles. It started hurting again. So yeah, I don't know. Do you
Moving
guys
target.
have like advice to give people, or just kind of
You lead a horse to water.
Yeah.
I think it always
punch
depends
them
on
in
the
the
person.
face till they drink?
Depends on the person,
I think
depends
that's how
on the
that
presentation, depends on how much they've been running, all those things,
Yeah.
It's
leveling with them, like you're saying, Jeremy. And because you also, like we just said, you don't want to go too far down the road and making them fearful of it, right? If somebody who does totally trust and buy into everything you say, but maybe hears it differently, and it's like, now I better never run more than 5 miles.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
Well, that's not what I said either, right? So gradually, build yourself back up.
Yeah.
Just like you gotta take those times during the holidays to
Have a
hit the
couple
reset
treats.
button.
Deload.
Treat yourself.
Treat yourself. Deload and reload, baby.
Yeah.
Then overload, which is what I do at the holidays. So.
Overload. There was a lot of good snacks. So a top 5 this week: holiday foods and or beverages. This holiday season obviously kind of includes Thanksgiving through New Year's. You guys all on the same page there?
I'm mostly focused on Christmas because like for me, Thanksgiving is just like a super eat day, but like Christmas holiday is kind of my jam. I don't, Thanksgiving is just like a day for me, where Christmas, that's a season.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, pretty much same here too. Yeah, I'd say mine are very seasonal, very December into January, and then move on out. Got enough of the good stuff. Yeah. So I can kick it off and
hit it.
Go from there. Number 5. I got to cut my teeth on making one of these last year.
Ooh, gingerbread house.
Didn't turn out half bad. Oh, I said last. I meant 2 years ago. It is a delicious prime rib that is medium rare. Very seasonal.
Mm-hmm.
I believe if you look it up, as far as meats go, it's like one of the most common, like, well-to-do foods to eat during Christmas. So my mom had purchased a big, beautiful prime rib, and I gave it the old herb crusting, everything like that, and then smoked it nice and low and slow. Tented it, and then I sliced it up perfectly medium rare. But turns out most people in my family didn't care for it as much because it was too bloody. So I had my big slab and then put it back in the smoker till it reached more of like a medium. It's funny though, because I looked at it, I'm like, this is exactly how, like, if you're looking up on Instagram,
yeah, looks beautiful.
This is what everybody wants. But
now, did you tell them that
kind of
red stuff's not actually blood? Does that make you feel better?
No, I didn't.
Oh,
no.
Get the science behind there.
And then it's I like a little bit of a horseradish dip.
You go creamy or ground?
Creamy. Ground just I think it fries me too much. That's my own personal preference.
Yeah.
Okay, but prime rib, man. When prime rib's done well, it is very, very good. So that's my number 5.
I'll go next. My number 5 is a delicious eggnog. Love it. Today's episode was brought to you by eggnog. Yeah, I big fan. I love it. The only time I will drink eggnog is pretty much in the month of December, but unpopular opinion, I actually don't typically like adding alcohol to it. I prefer it on its own.
Yeah.
Booze kind of gives it a weird flavor to me, but
never had eggnog.
Whoa,
ever?
Really?
0 times.
What's holding you back? Tell me more.
Sounds gross.
A little thick.
Yeah.
A little thick.
It's like you drink whole milk.
What's in the nog? I mean, what is the nog portion?
Allspice and nutmeg,
milk, cream, sugar, egg yolk, nutmeg, turmeric.
Yeah. So it's good for your joints.
Yeah.
information.
Anti-inflammatory.
Actually, according to this, that's for color, not your joints, Nick.
Oh,
For the
it's
label.
not dosed high enough.
Yeah. There's
I had
nothing
this-
gross in it, Jeremy.
When I moved to Marshall, I had this thing with a buddy of mine where I think it was like 9 or 10 years in a row. We'd like be in a grocery store and one of us would buy a quart of eggnog and be like, I'm gonna try it again.
Chug it.
No, buy it, bring it home, and pour myself a glass. And I'm like, yeah, I still don't like it. I tried
Neither
it
you
like
guys
year
like it,
after
huh?
year.
Man.
I think I'm gonna, but I think I'm gonna like it every year. And I've tried it with rum. I've tried it with, other liqueurs to like mix it with, and it's
What are you,
just
French?
I have a
Yeah.
fine Crevassier
Yeah.
in this one. It's delicious.
Cavassier smoke running back for Kentucky.
Good.
No, I've tried. I really do. I was tempted, and I saw it again a couple weeks ago, and I was tempted to buy a jug, and I'm like, nah, it's just gonna sit. I'll have like one small glass, and then I'll have to throw it out in 2 months because it ends up in the back of my fridge.
Yeah, we run into my wife makes like a peppermint ice cream punch with it. When we have friends over, they like it. I just drink the nog myself, but we always end up throwing quite a bit away as well. But
The nog.
me personally, yeah, it's a nice little nightcap.
He's a nog bro. I like it.
Nog.
That's my number 5.
I
Eggnog.
might have to try. I might go out and buy some tomorrow. Try it.
Maybe make your own. Maybe you should try to make your own.
No.
My number 5. That sounds horrible. My number 5 is a tried and true treat for the Christmas time.
Okay.
Can come in Christmas tree shapes.
Oh God, did we
Bells
lose you? Oh,
and stuff.
okay.
This is a straight up sugar cookie. Sugar cookie with a little bit of just regular old frosting. Nothing puts you in the Christmas spirit like that. I'm not a big sweets guy. A lot of sweets made my list because this is about the only time I eat them. And
They're
half
everywhere.
of it is because we have so many patients that bring stuff into the clinic. And that's like, if I see a plate of cookies, that's going to be my first go-to. So
Now, are you like a crispy sugar cookie guy or like a pillowy soft sugar cookie guy?
crispy. I like crispy.
What is so wrong with you, J-Bone?
I use that. It's like
More of a
it's
pillowy
almost like
soft sugar cookie guy.
it's a
It's gotta
scone.
be. I think
It's like a
Yeah,
scone
boring.
with coffee.
Scone.
Yeah,
Okay.
get a little
scone
crunch with
texture
it.
of a scone.
Yeah.
All right. All right.
I don't agree, Jeremy. I find sugar cookies to be the worst cookie.
They're so boring, right?
It also makes my worst 5 list. So
Okay.
stay tuned until
Stay
next
tuned.
That'll be next week's least favorite, and Jeremy's like, "Oh, sugar cookie is my number 2."
Yeah, I don't mind it as much when you're 5 and 5.
He's like,
but
"You
it is
guys,
always
you
weird
guys
when it's
talked
like
about,
a
you guys
5 and a
talked me
3.
out of 'em." You're right. They suck.
Yeah, they do. I had one. It was gross.
Those loft house people. Yeah, we're all fooled. My number 4 is my first venture into adult beverage on my list. And this last year at PPS, Jeremy, you got me to break into it just a teensy bit early, and it is a delicious red wine. I'm very seasonal on this. We've talked about different alcoholic beverages that my body just craves at different times. And I'm not particularly picky, whether it's a Cabernet or a Merlot. Not really much of a Pinot guy, but definitely
sour.
Cabernet and Merlot.
Yeah.
And when it gets the snow is falling, and I can sit around with Michelle and uncork a little bottle of red wine, you feel like wise. You feel grown up.
Now you
And,
both on the couch, feet up, fireplace.
Yeah, just sit there and listen to
Oh,
Last
yeah.
Christmas and
I got
Giggle.
that in my mind.
Wow.
Yep. Isn't this idyllic?
Yeah.
That's my number 4 is red wine, because then come the end, like I might consume that into January, but then not much beyond that. As it starts warming up, I'm like, I don't want a dry mouth all the time.
I gotta say, not seasonal for me at all.
Me either.
that's every night of the week drink.
All right. It is part of communion. All right. Every 2 weeks with communion.
Maybe like a nice mulled wine. I don't know if you guys ever hammer into that, but
That's a good Christmas treat too.
yeah, if I'm gonna do a seasonal wine, I guess that would be the one. My number 4, already been covered by Mr. Nick Doling. Prime rib, man. It's about the only. I love prime rib. I will eat it in a restaurant if it's on special and they still got medium rare. But for the most part, Christmas, if I have my choice, I'm always cooking a prime rib. And bones on it, nice crust on the outside, score it up a little bit. Yeah, get that fat cap cooking, sizzling. So good.
It is very delicious.
Yeah, my family actually enjoys it quite a bit. So
also
probably creamy horseradish typically. Just because I don't know. Yeah, I can just enjoy it more. Like I like a chopped up horseradish sometimes, but you're right. Every once in a while that sucker is overpowering.
And they don't exactly give away a large prime rib, if you're going to prepare it yourself. So you don't want to burn your nose out, like
that first
blast
bite.
Everything with too much horsey on it right away. Are you referring? So we're Arby's horsey sauce.
Arby's horsey sauce.
That's what you put on prime rib.
Yeah, I'm joking.
Just go to Arby's, order the catering, but I'll just take the horsey sauce, please.
That was like a South Park joke one episode, right? The horsey sauce was making everybody have diarrhea.
That's a questionable sauce for sure.
Yeah,
is it just sitting out there in the warmth? Yeah,
very good. I would say great choice. Jeremy, number 4.
My number 4 is also generally on that plate of cookies that those ladies bring in. It's some nice homemade fudge. I'm telling you, that's like the only time I eat it throughout the year. But it's good. And I'm a little pissed at our staff because we had somebody bring in a whole plate and that whole plate was gone before I got a single piece. Yeah, I know. Oof. I know. I told them. I said, like, I'm really disappointed in you guys. And they didn't care because they said it was great.
You didn't walk into the break room and just, what a bunch of selfish pigs.
Like, what the frick is going on here? They're like, oh, everyone was like, oh, I only had one piece. Okay. 3 of you said you had one piece and the whole plate's gone. Where did it go?
Christmas bonuses are gone.
Bonuses are gone. PTOs all off the books. So
and no cash-ins around here.
Yeah. Enjoy your fudge. Enjoy your fudge.
Yeah, hope that was good. Hopefully we our mantra, our team goal for 2023 is do better. Do better.
You just straight chocolate fudge? Is that kind of how you go? Straight chocolate?
Straight chocolate fudge. And there, I take that back. I've had a little bit. If you get up to the UP, Doling, do you stop at any of those shops up by the Mackinac Bridge?
Oh, we brought back tons of Mackinac fudge.
Good fudge up there too. Then you get into
legit stores. Yeah.
You get like 50 kinds of fudge up there. That's
my mom makes a mean fudge, like red velvet's pretty solid. Peanut butter.
Yeah.
Makes like unicorn fudge that's to die for. It's like purple.
Yeah, man. That's what I think. Like the seat, as Jeremy's talking about, my mom used to be one of those gals, and I'm not, as life's gotten away, I think she shifted a little bit away from it. But I always tell this story about when we were growing up, and she was back in college, so she'd have her own Christmas break, and we'd come home, into the porch like that last day of school before Christmas, and the whole porch was covered with like a variety of all this stuff, like fudge and there'd be the homemade caramel corn, Twix bars, nut clusters, all these things. And it was like, I wonder, it was a fast track to obesity. But I've, worked my way around that. That's what I think. Then I got older and got into therapy, and like these gals would bring in these variety trays, and man, that just killed. I'm a variety guy anyways. Yeah. That's my weakness. Yeah.
It's so good.
Gotta sample it all.
My number 3 is a sweet. It is my only sweet food that made it on my list. My short list was filled with them, but when it came down to it, I'm more of a savory guy. It's a delicious cherry cheesecake. And I'm a cheesecake guy in general. Like I like cheesecake just about in any way, shape, or form. But this time of year, like cherry just seems right. It's like the cheap, whatever gelatinous stuff in a can. I like that shit. this time of year. I
It
don't
hits
I
the
don't even
spot,
need
huh?
and I don't even need to eat that many of the cherries. I'll just eat the gelatinous goo. It tastes like cherry.
Yeah, the goo's the best part.
Made,
The goo.
made of 0% real cherries.
But yeah, that's my number 3. My mom used to make this great cheesecake dessert every year, and that was like the Christmas Eve, like the final yum before opening some presents, and God, it was dominant. So, and I've never grown out of that. So, I've grown to love it. Like she never made it New York style, but now as I've gotten older, I love New York style. Like the heavier, more dense, the better.
Yeah, I'm just a regular cheesecake guy. I don't like a lot of frills on my cheesecake.
Yeah.
Unless
Well,
I real
caramel's good.
No, I don't do any of that stuff. I just like the cheesecake. Every
Yeah,
once in a
something.
while, if I'm feeling fancy, I'll do a turtle cheesecake. But
See, I think the fruit, like whether it's strawberry or cherry, it gives it enough contrast for me where I can go with it. Sometimes I'm not like a chocolate. I've had different ones where they're like, oh, it's a, extra chocolate on it or a fudge cheesecake and stuff. And I'm like,
got like a
"Ah,
chocolate crust.
yeah, it doesn't jive as well together. It's got to have the graham cracker crust. And like I said, I love that New York style. Like if you go, like Costco makes like that legit, probably 10-pound, cheesecake. Drop it, break somebody's foot.
Solid cheesecake. My number 3, second beverage on the list, and anybody that holidays with me knows this is my jam because I drink about 10 bottles of it. It is non-alcoholic sparkling grape juice. That comes with the foil top. Dude, I loved it as a kid. Still as an adult. Anytime we have Thanksgiving and Christmas, I buy 6-7 bottles of it. True story.
Bottles.
Yep.
All right.
My wife's sister also loves it, so there's always a battle to make sure we get all of it. I always joke that I keep a couple in the toilet tank in the back, just for emergency purposes, just so she can't.
That's why I brought it, so I could have it all.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to share.
No, I love peeling the stupid foil off, and it's so bubbly, nice and crisp. It sits a little lighter with my meal than anything else, so I just enjoy it. That's my number 3, a nice sparkling white grape preference if I had to choose. Sparkling apple, sparkling pear, garbage. You got to go white grape or regular grape, but Welch's, of course.
Welch's, good people. Welch's.
Yeah.
What's the other one? Martinelli's? You don't like?
Not as good. I feel like there's a little bit of like a salty aftertaste to those. Not as good. Okay. I mean, in a pinch, if the toilet tank's empty of Welch's and somebody brings one over, I'm probably going to crack into it. But
I like that you're
only after 4 or 5 bottles of Welch's.
Yeah,
he's a man of standards.
I am. When it comes to children's sparkling grape juice,
my kids love it. I don't think we ever got those growing up. I don't remember my folks.
We didn't either.
Splurging. So Michelle did though, because she's introduced that to our kids. They love it. They get the kick out of it.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a fun
in the new year with some bubbly.
Yep. Yeah. Me and Lacey on the couch, feet up, fireplace, little sparkling grape juice.
Little Welch's.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Just giggling.
Yep. Listening to the Alvin and the Chipmunks. All I want for Christmas is a hula hoop. Giggling.
Yeah.
Well, my number 3. It's not sparkling grape juice.
Then it's the wrong answer.
I know. So this is simple, but this brings me back to being a kid too, because we always had candy canes around. So number 3, candy canes, but not peppermint. Give me Skittles, give me Sweet Tarts, give me Sour Patch Kids,
Starburst,
fruit,
right?
Starburst, yes. Any fruit flavored candy cane, even the blue ones are pretty good too. But I don't Menthol. I chew them. Like I could go through a whole box. And obviously the most challenging, frustrating, rewarding part is unwrapping the hook of the candy cane.
Yeah, without breaking it.
I swear,
let's
these
go.
things now,
Starburst. There you go.
They come like Yeah, we're kind of, I do the old elf in the shelf for the young guys. Yeah.
How do
in
they
our
get up there?
And I had some Jolly Rancher smoothie flavored ones that I found that I dispersed out over the weekend.
Green apple has to be killer in those.
Dude, I never had it. And that's what I was telling my boys. I'm like, you guys have no idea how good you have it, because when we were growing up, peppermint was what we got.
Peppermint.
Peppermint sucks. It just does.
Agreed.
And then, but you know what? I remember we had some teachers that when Brock started making the cherry flavored multicolor one, like
so
that,
cool.
The OG first fruit flavored one, that was like amazing. You're like, that was
life changer.
Now you're right. You go through the aisle. I was like kid all over again. I'm like, Starburst, Jolly Rancher, Retards.
Yes, please.
You do like Sour Patch Kids, and they have like the ones where they come with like the sour goo you dip it in, right?
Like a Fun Dip candy cane. That'd be
kind of like Fun Dip, but they have it now.
Goo.
It's like a goo,
sour
like gel,
the cherry goo without the cherries.
All right, you save yourself. I thought you were gonna go OG peppermint. I was
no.
That's a garbage.
They gotta be.
He's wilding out.
They gotta be the fruit flavor.
Is that
Gandalf?
Nugging and bugging, baby.
I always found like candy canes. I don't know what the statute of like limitations and freshness on a candy cane are, but
3 or 4 years.
Yeah, because we'd put them on the tree and they wouldn't get eaten, and we'd throw them in the box with the ornaments.
Oh, you're good.
Put them back on.
You are good.
Every couple of years, I would pull one off and try it. It's still terrible, but about the same freshness.
Well, they reach a point too where the wrapper doesn't want to come off them. It's like melded together too. It's
true. We are one.
Yeah, like I said, so the thing that's always bothered me though with candy canes is like they must have somebody in that factory that's like cracking 1/3 of them right off the bat before they shove them in the box. Because even that Jolly Rancher one, as I took them out, there's like 12, and 3 of them were already cracked and broken. It's like, this was in a box. Like, how does this happen all the time? But whatever.
It's a weak point. Structural error.
A bunch of fumbling, bumbling fools at the Jolly Rancher.
They should do an offset candy cane, like normal, like an offset walking cane. Maybe offset that a little bit, and the weak point would be right over the middle. The strong point.
Well, you have to send that idea in.
Short based quad candy canes.
Yeah.
There's gonna be a niche for those, I think. I really do.
Time for you to fill it.
Yeah.
Number two.
I'm
I'm back to another beverage for me. Mine is again adult beverage, very seasonal. I don't need many of these, but at least one per year, particularly around like Christmas Eve, maybe Christmas Day. I like a good Sam Adams winter lager. And then there's some other companies who make like a winter seasonal beer. It's usually like a dark, nuttier flavor, has some spice to it.
A bit nutty.
Yes, brown lager, but it's good. I don't know. I don't need many. Again, 1 or 2, and I feel like that's plenty. And I've got my fix for the season. Something I started getting into in college, when, and actually even in probably not even more until grad school, but when like the Sam Adams variety boxes would start coming out, you'd have the old Fezziwig in there, which sucked, but winter lager, very, very delicious. And I still like it to this day. Kind of calls me. Shell makes like fire brick, and that's not bad either. And there's some few other ones too. But it's got to be kind of darker and meatier, just filling. 350 calories in a 12-ounce bottle.
That's all right. The eggnog's about 1,000 calories in an 8-ounce cup.
Correct.
So.
Yes.
My wife likes, I believe it's Leinenkugel's like Cheer for All beer or whatever. Nice seasonal as well. You're right. It's got spice to it.
Yeah. And Sam, I sounds like I'm shilling for Sam's, but I've tried all these other ones, and some of them just do it. They maybe go a little overboard with like the allspice.
Mm-hmm.
Which, if you put it on chicken, great. I love Caribbean jerk.
Lowry's?
No, all like Jamaican allspice. So it's got that,
it was a joke. It was just a joke.
I'm
You
like the
wanna
Drax of our
Throw a
podcast.
little into the realm.
No, not Lowry's.
Nothing goes over my head, Jeremy. My reflexes are too good. Catch it.
Goose Island makes a nice IPA as well. Christmas IPA.
Make a
It's a
Christmas.
little-
I'm gonna have to check that out.
It's a little different, but it's good.
Goose's IPA. That's legit. I mean, you
Pretty
can't.
solid.
Yeah, I mean, it's just good standard beer. You know,
Yeah.
Delicious IPA.
My number 2, we've moved back to sweet.
Ooh-wee.
And I don't know if there's a different name for this, but I had to look it up because I don't know what it was called. Reindeer bait. Are you guys familiar with that?
What?
Which is like
Heard it.
Chex Mix, pretzels, M&Ms, white chocolate, marshmallows. I actually prefer it with like the puff corn versus the Chex Mix. But that treat, whew, that is a holiday trail mix you're gonna want to down. That sucker, I don't know. Only time I have it's Christmas time, and it is tasty. One of my favorite things. I could eat a bag of that in a sitting. So that's my number 2, man.
Mhm.
Reindeer bait. White
Those
chocolate,
mixes,
marshmallow.
man. Homemade
good.
caramel corn, caramel puff corn.
Ooh.
It's dangerous, man.
Looking that recipe up, Jeremy?
Yeah, it looks like there's a fair amount of individuality, creativity you can have with that.
Yeah, like I said, I like the puff corn.
It's kinda like
versus
a-
Chex, but
Kind of like a puppy chow on steroids.
yeah, not a bad
we like
way.
steroids on this pod too.
Yeah, we do, and peptides. But yeah, like the white chocolate and marshmallow is like way easier on your fingers than powdered sugar, like puppy chow.
Yeah.
So
I like that call. I like it.
yeah, it's like a better puppy chow. And
As
I
I've
like
gotten-
puppy chow.
Are you guys still into puppy chow? Has it gotten older?
Not as much. As a kid, I thought that was maybe the greatest bake sale item you could
Agree.
buy.
Agreed.
Bees
Yes.
knees.
Like
yeah.
Mom and Dad, I'm gonna need an advance on my allowance because there's a bake sale today.
Or we go to like a wrestling
Puppy
tournament and after you weigh in, there's concessions and everything, and they have like the little Ziploc baggies like puppy chow. And
Yeah, it was unbelievable.
now though, I'm like, I don't need much.
Yeah.
Like I'll have a couple bites, and then I'm like, God, I got powdered sugar all over my fingers. It sucks, you know.
Yeah,
You're
this
all-
is the next step. Move into
You're
the
all
new
old
age.
and crotchety.
Yeah. But you're right.
Powdered
The,
sugar.
the mix you're
Son of a
talking
gun.
about, which we called it reindeer what? Reindeer drop.
Bait.
Oh,
Bait.
Droppings.
Less enjoyable.
Uh,
Less enjoyable.
That sounds
But you're
delicious.
right. It doesn't melt in your hands so readily. I mean, you're not
Mhm.
left with like the need to either lick them clean or wipe them clean. It's the older you get, the less cool that is, unless you're eating chicken breasts.
Then it's great.
Then it's totally cool.
Yeah.
Totally legit.
Mhm.
Comes with territory.
All right.
Jeremy.
My number 2, another sweet. I can't believe 4 out of 5 made it.
Ooh.
But these are pizza bars.
Mm.
So it's like an oatmeal graham cracker crust with caramel is like the sauce. Then you have M&Ms. Typically at Christmas time, they were red and green, and white chocolate over the top. Don't know if you've ever had them, but they're
Never even
legit.
heard
Can
of them.
can somebody produce this? It sounds really good.
They are
Oh,
legit.
Let's see.
And they must be, because I trust you've had the quote unquote Twix bar.
Is it something like this?
I don't know.
Jeremy? Wait. You guys probably can't. Can you see my screen? No.
It's all black. Oh, there we go.
Sorry.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
I think I have had those. I had no idea they were called pizza bars. What's
It looks
what's,
like a little piece of pizza.
Is it? What kind of pizza do you eat out there? I've never seen a pizza people look like that.
It's like Supreme. It's some sort of deluxe.
With some sort of brown sauce.
Well, you got to use a little bit of imagination.
That's 100% imagination.
That looks good.
They're
Yeah,
good.
I agree. I mean, it looks delicious.
Yep.
I mean,
It-
it looks
the
like some
bottom's
I've eaten
oatmeal?
before, but yeah.
The bottom's like oatmeal and graham crackers, I think.
Mm.
And then it's
Mm.
caramel, basically caramel chocolate and white chocolate. It's pretty good.
Candy bar cookie pizza.
Now that looks a little more like a slice of pizza, Jeremy.
But that's not very Christmassy.
No. No.
Oh, come on. If those were red and green M&Ms, you'd be like, yeah, that's Christmassy.
All right. Well,
perhaps,
I want to
but
see
they're
the
not.
red and green one.
Yeah.
Pretend you're colorblind, and that's all the colors you can see. It all looks the same.
Very good. I've learned something new tonight, and I'm
Me
going
too.
to kind of look into that.
That's what this pod's about, making you better people.
We're on to the big wigs, though, now, boys. No more fun and games. Numero unos.
Zero fun and games.
My number one has a long history in my family, and it's quite the acquired taste. But as we've gotten older, both my brothers and I request that my mom makes this dish every Christmas, and we're the only three guys that will eat it anymore. But it is oyster stew. It's a hearty, brothy bowl with oysters, and very acquired. Shell hates it.
My father-in-law loves it.
Yep.
Loves it.
Joe?
Yeah.
Oh man, we could have been talking about that when I hung out. But it's the only time any year my mom would ever make it was like Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
And make a big old pot of it. Super fattening too. It's like mainly the butter, the base is like butter and cream, which you can't really go wrong with, and then some other like seasonings. You got your oysters. Needs lots of crackers because otherwise it's just kind of too watery. So
oyster crackers.
Oyster correct. Yes. Yep. Best way to do it. But I'll also use saltines crushed up too if I got nothing else. Yeah.
And now you love oysters too. Have you ever tried oyster casserole?
Can't say as I have.
You need to put that on your next list to try, my friend. I think you'd love it.
Yeah. I'm gonna look this up. I don't see a side profile photo, which is what it really win me over. This is just seeing the top right now.
Yeah, this lady's not putting a lot of good effort into that.
She seems really arrogant.
Yeah. I don't get the recipe thing where it's like, tell me your life story about this. Yeah, I mean it's
okay.
Looks like you imagine.
I like it. I like this hearty. I mean,
yeah, I think it would be a little easier for you just to enjoy on a meal. Like you could just have it as a nice side with prime rib.
Side, yes, you're correct. Yeah.
Whereas like oyster stew, I imagine then you got to get a bowl and you have to make a whole event out of it.
Yeah, but it's still really good. It's good one time, but it's not. It's like something too where my mom's like sent extra back home with me, and it's like after Christmas, the time has passed, the moment's gone. Again, it'll like this Tupperware container goes
Dolbs.
It goes top of the fridge, and then like 3 weeks later, I'm like, this is gross. I better
throw this out with the old eggnog. Huh?
Put it down, yeah. Like I never got back around to touching it again. So that's
Dolbs could have been eaten like a king.
As far
as aphrodisiac effect would be unfortunate.
Yeah, Red Rocket. Pure holiday foods.
What's more Christmas than that? Huh?
Yeah, that's my number one. Doling family oyster stew.
What?
Oh, sounds delicious. You have to give that oyster casserole a try. Let me know if you like it. My number one, still going sweets. Christmas, the holiday season sweets for me apparently. These are only again around Christmas time, so very seasonal for me. Probably good for my pancreas. And it is Oreo truffles. Man, I cannot eat enough Oreo truffles. It is such a rich, delicious food, and they're perfect like 1-2 biter. You just keep them nice and cold in the fridge. You pop that door open to grab your nog for the night, and you're like, might as well hit a truffle nog up. Yeah, might as well hit a truffle up with that. And it's like Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, man. You have one of those, I'd kill somebody for that thing. So just hits me. I feel content afterwards. Nothing hits the spot better than an Oreo truffle.
All right. Very chocolatey.
Very Oreo. See, I don't like a chocolate truffle. I just like the Oreo truffles. There's something about like the Oreo and cream cheese mix with the white chocolate where it's like, that's just a nice, calm flavor. It's not overpowering.
Yeah.
Did you
Since
feel
our,
like you've had a whole dessert when you've had one?
since our pod last week, I've been even more mindful of like looking at fitness things and food, options. And
We live in them nine
I saw
tenants
one,
now, huh?
ironically, that says like, it was like Oreo filling is one of the worst things that you can be ingesting because it's just, all it is high fructose corn syrup and seed oil, like together. So
Live
yeah.
a little, Doling.
Whatever, bring it. Yeah, you consume all that estrogenergic stuff and
I don't touch that noise.
you just tell me to live a little.
Throw it in my body.
Yep. I'll tell
Them
you,
truffles.
you go ahead, eat all the double stuff you want, mega stuff. Just gonna kill you, bro.
Yikes.
That's the way I want to go.
It's turned dangerous.
But you don't go, it's not as romantic as you're making it, Casey. It's not like you're gonna die while you're eating these delicious Oreos.
What if I choke on it?
That's not the seed oils that got you.
No.
All right,
Hey,
Jeremy.
look at all these fun things you could do with these guys.
It's time for Gary to take us away.
Number 1 by Gary. I got another cut of meat. Mine is some roast beast, some beef tenderloin. So it's
yes.
on the Daniels side. It's a little family tradition. Get a little beef tenderloin trimmed and tied. Old Miss Joanna Gaines has got a wonderful recipe for this in her cookbook.
Yeah.
No horsey sauce. However, it comes with it's like a sour cream pickled jalapeno. Ooh.
Oh.
Look, no, go up top.
Pickled
It's like
pickled jalapeno sour cream.
horseradish sour cream. There it is.
All right, on top, number 1 hit. Thanks,
And
Google.
they do jalapenos in there too.
That's I saw that was a little bit down the Google page right there.
I'm telling you, if you guys need a gift for your wives and they like cooking, that cookbook, we got it for our wedding. I think we've made in the first cookbook, I think we've made everything in there, and it is just wonderful. I'm telling you.
I can't bring myself to buy a cookbook anymore just with the internet.
Everything's
I'm just like,
so available on the internet.
Yeah.
Like it's right here.
Oh,
I got it,
read a
Jeremy.
Book.
Jeremy just
Read
pulled
a
it.
book. This isn't the same.
It's probably identical.
Yeah.
It's
But
from
it's not as
Magnolia.
magical.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
it's
mean, I can't
classic is breaking out the book and
close my eyes and just point towards something, I guess. But
Let me type in the search bar, not let me flip through fine pages.
now there's directions right there. Seems to be legit to me.
I'm telling you, that thing is good. Really good.
it looks good.
Looks really good.
Yeah.
It does look very good. So,
Like
but
they
that's a beef
crumble that
tenderloin.
salt
Yeah,
over there.
not a roast beef.
No.
Yeah.
Roast beast
Roast beast. Like the Grinch that stole
from
Christmas.
the Grinch. Yeah.
Perfect.
I'm
His
gonna call it the same
reflexes,
thing.
Jeremy. Nothing goes over his head.
That's not roast beef.
Well, I thought that's what I heard. I need better headphones.
Beast.
Beast.
Roast beast.
Yeah, that's my number 1.
Yeah. Horseradish sour cream. That looks good.
Yeah, looks
See
legit.
Cook's notes, huh?
Yeah.
Well, very good. Any takebacks? Any regrets on these lists after hearing each other?
No regrets.
No. I enjoyed it. The sparkling grape juice seemed to get a little hate, but I'm okay with that. I know it's childish and I love it. I want to say that like fudge, my mom used to make a killer fudge, but she hasn't in the last couple years. If she had been, I bet that would have been on my list because her fudge was killer. It's just out of sight, out of mind for me now.
There's like a couple that could have swapped in at any time based on how I'm feeling. Like chocolate covered pretzels to me are something that definitely are seasonal. And especially when they make the pretzels that are in the shape of the evergreen tree, that one goes over very well. I'm a pretzel rod guy too. Michelle asked me that. And she's like,
the dipped ones?
Yep.
Chocolate
Especially dip rods, stuff. I'm like, I can do that too. And she's like, nah, it's too much. The ratio is too heavy on the pretzel,
Yeah.
So I could see that too.
I like the pretzel circles with the Rolo and like the pecan pushed in.
Oh,
Now we're talking.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a pretty solid treat and it's pretty easy to make.
Yep. Very common around these parts. Yeah.
The other short list one I was going to put on there for drinks wise was a Moscow Mule. I know it's not really necessarily a holiday just only, but yeah, that's probably one like your winter lager. That's like have one of them, and I've had
that's all you need. Kind of get your taste, you know.
Yeah.
I think a lot of that stuff was, like I said, oyster stew. I don't need more than one bowl. I get my one bowl, and it's like, okay, I think I kind of like it, but not totally sure either. And nostalgia's played a huge role. In
I was just gonna say it'd be interesting, like if we could separate the nostalgia side of it from what's actually good, you know.
Yeah,
more
for me that's like pickled beets for sure. I'll eat pickled beets at Christmas, but no other time will I like pickled beets.
Herring usually is on there for me too. Pickled herring.
Yeah,
that's a year-rounder for me.
Really?
I always keep it in the fridge.
Do you put it on a cracker or you just eat it straight out? Same here. My grandpa was a big Ritz cracker guy, but I eat it straight up.
So I had a patient that was like, "Oh, you like pickled herring?" And I was like, "Yeah, I love it." She's like, "Have you ever had creamed herring?" And I was like, "No."
Creamy wine sauce?
Yeah. So she brings it in, and it's like the pickled herring, but they drain the juice out and just put sour cream in there. Ooh. That was a little harder to sit down and just eat. But if you were a cracker guy,
but I did.
100%. I didn't have lunch that day, so I ate a whole thing of creamed fish. But if you were a cracker guy like that on a Ritz, I bet would have been pretty solid.
Yeah, my guy grew up with a cracker, like whether it was oysters, like smoked oysters and that. I've never done pickled herring.
Oh, it's good.
Like just never tried it, huh?
No, yeah, I should try it.
Man, Olson's pickled herring. I don't know if you can do better. You got Costco membership? They sell that sucker in like a 5-gallon thing.
Just a Costco on Monday. I didn't see it. I'll have to look again.
I don't think I've ever had Olson's.
It's over by like the meats, like the cured meats, typically in Costco. So I like to go over there and get the old like prosciutto wrapped cheese sticks as a nice little work snack.
Good.
Ooh, those are good. Yeah.
Throw those in the old work fridge.
How about sardines in a can? Has he get those?
Not as much. Yeah, like kipper snacks type thing. Mm-hmm. My dad was big into those, which probably turned me off of it.
Yeah.
But smoked oysters for sure, delicious.
You know what's still pretty legit? Now we're shifting like gas station stuff, but like you talk pickled stuff, like a good pickled sausage, like the Tijuana Mama. That's legit, man. Pickled foods are good. Pickled foods are
if you go to the web in Taunton, you can get a pickled egg.
Yeah, I've had pickled eggs. I had them down at Garvin. Down the Garvin.
Yeah. Pickled eggs are good. Yeah, they're a little dry, but I do love it with pickled egg.
We
Meats by John and Wade have them. I pick those up all the time.
The first time ESPN Game Day was up in Fargo, we all went and converged up there, and that night went back to our buddy Monty's place, and my brother, my friend Derek, and I polished off a whole freaking like quart container of pickled eggs. And
you threw up first.
I did the next day. No, Derek did. Derek did in the house, and then I was driving halfway back to Marshall, and I just had to pull over and let it out. It felt a lot better, but yeah, that was not a good choice.
Yeah, we used to go to Jim Lauerman's when they were downtown here in Fargo, and that was their big thing was pickled eggs. So when the bar would close at 1:30, they would sell you like 6 pickled eggs and like a handful of pretzels. And me and my buddy would each get one, and we lived up by campus, so we'd walk whatever half a mile, eat our pickled eggs and pretzels, and feel pretty darn good by the time we got home. A little fresh air, got a little jog.
Hard-boiled egg, you're healthy. I mean, could be a lot worse things to eat.
Yeah, it was good.
Like Oreo filling.
Oreo filling. Just don't do that. Morning, you guys. You heard it.
Had about 15 of those this weekend. I won this cool Nick Cage picture this weekend. It's nice. Should say I won it. Got it in our Yankee gift exchange, so it was nice. It was cool. A win. Yeah. Always gets cool stuff in there.
Are you gonna take his face off?
Yeah, it was very applicable to our discussion last week. So
very apropos, right?
Yeah. My wife sees me get those things and she just shakes her head. But
that picture is a national treasure.
That's what they say.
Oh, I like what you did there. There's a it's
Oh,
adding to Casey's constitution.
It'll go great. I have a painting of me in the house. It'll fit nicely with that. So
You do?
I
We're
do,
gonna have to see that one sometime.
I'll shoot you a pic in the old group
Yep.
chat.
Did you get your gift? Did that come in the mail? It says it was delivered.
When?
oh,
You'd ask when.
This
back
time
to
of
the-
year, I get so many packages. It's crazy.
Back to the topic of food. More contemporary treatsies. Nobody said homemade Twix bars, and that's something that also is like on my short list.
I've never had a homemade Twix bar.
Something you might
Me
want to look
either.
up. Pretty good bar.
A Mr. Good bar. Huh?
You maybe have had them. Chances are you probably had them as part of like a little, variety tray again.
Okay.
It says it was delivered Friday.
Friday.
Jeremy's will
Okay, I get it. Was it
be, horns
okay.
up.
Yeah. I got that and I was like, who is this from? There was nothing in it.
Well, you wouldn't let me do a gift message.
I was like, who sent this to me?
I don't know that I got mine yet.
A
No,
mystery.
Yours will come on Monday, the 19th.
It all makes sense now. Okay.
I'm glad I just didn't miss it.
Merry
Yeah.
Christmas, my
Well,
brothers.
thank you. I'm sorry I didn't send you a message earlier. I actually didn't realize it was from you. I have so many people sending me gifts.
You're a blessed man.
Yeah. I mean,
Well, yeah.
man, you want to like be a student with me? You better send me gifts. You want to work for Big Stone? You send me gifts. I set that standard early on.
Impressive.
Remember, I'm 55% ethical. If you guys remember earlier, based on our conversation. So that's the 45%, I would say.
There's a lot of gray there. You can live with the gray.
Yeah, for sure.
That's awesome.
Well, that's another successful pod for sure.
I think so. That concludes episode 45 of PT Shop Talk. As always, hit us up at ptshoptalk@gmail.com. Follow us on Facebook at PT Shop Talk. Check us out at YouTube at, you guessed it, PT Shop Talk. Like, subscribe. Until next time, I'm Casey Hansen.
Arsenio.
With me, as always, is Nick Doling and Jeremy Van Klompenberg. Thank you, everybody.